Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZKast from ZK Research, and I'm in the Expo Hall of Black Hat 2024 in Las Vegas. I'm at the Commvault stand, as you can tell, because I got this guy with me here. And also joining me, as well as the clean room person, is David Cunningham. You're a product manager on the security side for Commvault.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about what you do at Commvault.
Yeah, so I lead the roadmap for security solutions for Commvault, building a resilient product line, building security integrations, ecosystems, building up that. Anything that has to do with security, I run that roadmap.
Yeah, and it's interesting since we're at Black Hat. You know, I was expecting AI to be a big theme here, which it is. And I was wondering what else was going to be a big theme here. And I think between Crowdstrike and the Paris cord cutting, you know, they did us a favor because they raised the whole mindset around being cyber resiliency, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, you know, I think if we had, prior to Crowdstrike, obviously it was very important, but I think people are almost forgotten about it because of under the guise of AI and all the stuff happening with that. So, what are customers telling you now when it comes to cyber resiliency?
Yeah, so you mentioned Crowdstrike. It's almost like a bad curse word anymore for your audience.
Well, the irony, it wasn't a breach, right? So
it wasn't a breach, but it's a really interesting example how anything can take your business down, right? Something, even a legit security product can take your business down. And what we've learned is
you never know.
And you never know. It can happen at any time, right? And what we've learned is that, especially from our personal experience at Commvault, because we were impacted. I got a buddy of mine that works in healthcare, massively impacted. They were down for they had some outages for about 5 days. And
5 days?
Yep, had to cancel surgeries.
Yeah.
You name it. I was at the DMV. DMV was all backed up. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, Delta lost my golf club, so.
Yeah.
I guess at the same level of security as surgery, but.
So, one thing that we learned is that, like I was saying, it's not just cyber threats. It could be like legit updates. It could be anything like that. So, preparedness is one of the key things. Preparedness, right? Has nothing to do with technology.
And do you find most companies are prepared or not?
Well, based on our data, about 70% of our customers are at least doing quarterly testing for recovery testing. But I think situations like this are raising awareness, right? I think organizations are learning from this experience and they're looking for ways to improve.
Yeah, and this wasn't really different than what you might face with, say, a ransomware attack or something where all of a sudden your infrastructure is not available, right?
Yeah, it's very nuanced. In this situation, right, your first instinct might be to start use Commvault to recover your data, right? Obviously, I'm from Commvault, so you'd think I would say that. But there's a decision process that needs to be made, right? And it requires preparation. And in some cases, you do have to recover your data using a platform like ours. But in other cases, there's shorter term. There's other ways you can recover your data and bring your business back online. Diversifying your organization, right? Having a mix, right? It was only Windows that was attacked.
Yeah.
It was only Windows that was affected. So maybe you can diversify some of your apps on other platforms. Maybe you can put different plans into place, test more, right? So that way you're prepared for when these incidents happen.
Yeah, and so I guess from the customers you've talked to, where was the biggest gap in their cyber resiliency plans?
Asset inventories.
So just knowing what you have?
You don't know what you have.
Yeah.
You don't have it ranked properly. So I was talking to one of our IT director, and he's telling me about how we were prepared. We had the asset inventories listed. We had it rack stanked. We knew exactly which systems had to be brought up first, so our business can resume. Right, domain controllers, right? That's an obvious one. Domain's down, you can't do anything. But other systems like clusters, right? Maybe you got to bring up systems in a certain order. You have to have all that documented up front. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to recover properly.
Yeah, and how long were you down? Or how long did it take you to recover?
We basically recovered that day.
Oh.
So it was very little impact to us. Yeah.
So you did better than some of the bigger brands.
Yeah. So buddy, like I was saying, my buddy works for a healthcare company. It took about 5 days for them to recover. They had to go into they had to boot every one of their VMs into safe mode, do the manual steps that Crowdstrike provided on 4,000 systems, 5,000 systems, and some of the systems didn't work when they brought them up, and they had to recover using backup.
Yeah. All right. Any other, so if for people watching this, what are some best practices that, if they're not sure how to start even, with their plans here, what are some quick wins they can get, or are there no quick wins?
You need to be prepped. Get your asset inventories and lists. Get your rank stacks of what your critical assets. Test.
Okay.
Got to test your data,
Yeah,
test your
can't-
recoveries, test your resiliency, take systems down, see what the restore looks like, right, on off hours. Get a clean room, right, or an isolated environment where you can do test recoveries.
In fact, I did talk to one company that they recovered pretty quick, and they actually run on their backup systems 1 week a month just to make sure, or is it 1 week a quarter, just to make sure that they can recover and fully run quickly.
Yep.
And it's interesting because when I was in corporate IT before being an analyst, I was part of our BCDR team, and you just don't know what you don't know until you actually go through the process of doing it. And it can be as simple as nobody knows what the encryption keys are, things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody's got that data somewhere, but you didn't invite them to the,
There's so many people that need to talk to each other.
Yeah, but unless you test, you actually never know that.
And the quarterly testing is a really interesting thing you mentioned. I would say that's a minimum, right? If you're architected properly and you have the right solution in place, you should be able to do testing more often than quarterly. In fact, that's what we do at Commvault. We test more often than quarterly.
Yeah, in fact, it should almost be redundant systems, right?
Redundant systems,
and there's really no difference in the two. So
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so let's pivot a little bit to the show, right? Any takeaways from the show so far? Anything surprise you here?
Well, I think from my takeaways, one of the biggest takeaways is AI security. It's a really interesting area.
Where are our customers with AI security?
What's that?
Where are our customers' heads with AI security? Do they know what they want to do?
I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
It's so fresh and new.
Sense.
It's an emerging. It's very unknown. And there's some technologies out here on the floor that we've seen that are specializing in that area, and it's really interesting to see where that's going to really play out.
Yeah, and the concern I have with that though is if they're not part of the bigger platform vendors, then bringing them in, you're just bolting on more tools, and I mean the whole tool sprawl problem has plagued security for years, and it seems like we're just adding more. So I don't know how they could solve with AI, but
it's the amount of tools that you use. It's definitely a problem. I said this the other day in a conversation where I don't think it's a one platform solution. I think it's a ecosystem solution.
Yeah.
In other words, like with Commvault, we've been investing in our partners, our security partners, through integrations and different partnerships like that. That's super important. As well as in the security space, what I've been seeing is some of the data security platforms have been incorporating AI security into their platforms to kind of bring it all together. But that's going to be a challenge, trying to figure out how to reduce the amount of platforms or reduce the amount of technologies you have.
I do want to ask you about your ecosystem, but just in general, what are customers, when they talk about AI, what do they want to do with it in security? Do they want it as a SOC assistant? Do they want it to automate things? Because depending on who I talk to, I get a different answer, but I'm just, the customers you've talked to, is there, what would you think is the low-hanging fruit right now?
All right, low-hanging fruit is support. And what I mean by that is providing customers with answers on how to do things. Let me put it to you this way: AI is going to revolutionize the UI, meaning that the traditional approach of finding where to go in the graphical interface to do something is kind of going away a little bit. It's there still, but AI is going to make that simpler. Ask the Copilot; they'll take you right to where you need to go, or it'll use APIs to do it automatically for you. So simplification. Right, simplification, finding the answers, and then from the security perspective, we're using AI as part of our from a partner integration that we have with our platform to detect threats within the backup content. So we're using it as like a malware detection tool set.
Okay, that makes sense. And as I mentioned, you had some news at the show. You announced an expanded ecosystem. I think Wiz, Splunk, a few others.
Yeah.
Can you talk about those and why you did that?
So the two of them were data security platforms, Conti and Dacera. And like I said, we were really focused on the securing sensitive data within an environment. We have a platform that does this already, risk analysis, which scans an environment for sensitive data, PII data, and helps remediate it. But through these partnerships, we can strengthen our platform to help customers secure their data before it's even backed up, before it's impacted. Exfiltration attacks, things like that. Splunk is a really it's a key partnership for us. They provide us with the platform for orchestrating security related tasks. So for example, if you had a threat detected in your environment and you see it in your SIM SOAR, you can run the playbooks in Splunk to protect our platform. Right, so in other words, a rogue user that's doing stuff, right? You don't want them to gain access to backups and deleting it. And Wiz is also important because of the way that they're providing the vulnerability assessment on the data that we're restoring, so you can secure your data as you're restoring it.
All right, well, Commvault, the ecosystem company now.
What's that?
Commvault, the ecosystem company now.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yep, no, that's
super
good.
important.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the themes I've seen at Black Hat and RSA over the last few years is more and more security companies are focused on building ecosystems with other security companies. I think historically, one of the flaws, I would say, in the security industry was while security vendors were willing to partner with network vendors, compute vendors, whoever, they didn't really like to partner with other security vendors because they viewed it as competitive, right?
Yeah.
But I think that when you look out there, the threat actors all have no problem collaborating with one another. And
Absolutely,
so I think by you making your partners and sometimes competitors smarter, you're actually protecting the enterprise. And when you do things that are good for the customer, generally that's the right thing to do.
That's correct. Do what's right for the customer.
Yeah. So, all right, David, anything else you want to add?
No, I appreciate this conversation.
All right. So anyways, on behalf of David Cunningham and the clean room person here, I'm Zias Caraval from ZK Research, and thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.